I like to give it a minute because sometimes it takes a little while for the live streaming to start. So folks, I want to ask a question to you tonight. Have you ever wondered, like, what now? Like when you've had an event in your life, something drastic has kind of changed and you're like, now what? What am I going to do? So I have a guest tonight on my show. I'm Lisa Neller. This show is Unstuck, the Road to Reinvention. I am a reinvention life coach, and I help women flourish through the use of positive psychology, self-coaching, and transformative conversation. So if you want to learn more about me, go to my website at lisanellercoaching.com. You can also get my free video series at reinventionlifecoach.com. And that's for those of you who really are kind of like, what now? But also our guest tonight is going to share her story of what happened to her, some of the transitions in her life, and how she found herself in that position of, what do I do with my situation now that I'm in this situation? So I'm going to give a nice introduction. This is going to be a little longer introduction, but I have a lot to say about this friend of mine. So I've invited my friend, excuse me, Stephanie Smith here. I have known Stephanie for about 10 years. In fact, happy anniversary, Steph. We've been Facebook friends for 10 years. We taught yoga at the same studio here in Scottsdale, and I have taken her classes, which have always been uplifting and transformational. She introduced me to essential oils through doTERRA International, and our friendship deepened as we worked together to educate and help others achieve greater health benefits through the use of essential oils. Now, a little more about Stephanie. She has 3 children and currently lives in Heber City, Utah. She has a professional dance background that led her to yoga over 30 years ago. First as a fitness modality, and then led to a deeper experience of healing. As Stephanie witnessed transformation and a desire to teach others, she became a certified yoga instructor, and she now has over 25 years experience. So teaching and practicing from a variety of yoga traditions. So Stephanie also teaches essential yoga, a practice supported and enhanced by the use of doTERRA essential oils. She co-authored the Essential Yoga program and loves teaching others how to incorporate the use of these oils into their practice and into their lives. Stephanie is a Diamond Wellness Advocate Leader with doTERRA International and has successfully led a team of thousands across the globe improve their wellness naturally since 2011. She travels extensively, teaching and leading others on their own personal paths of well-being. A little more. Stephanie has always had a heart of an entrepreneur, which shows in her life's work. She loves helping women tap into their own value and beauty, which led her to her most recent work with the Handel Group. First as a client and now as a coach in training. She is an ambassador with InnerU.Coach and HG Methodology. Stephanie will graduate from the Coach in Training program at HG Life the summer of 2020, so that's right around the corner. And she plans to step into her life's biggest work yet. She will do this to help thousands see their potential, unveil, and manifest the life that they have only imagined possible. So welcome, friend. I'm really glad you're here to share your wisdom with us tonight.
Thank you, Lisa, for that wonderful introduction.
You're welcome. And there's so much more I could say about you. There's so many things I love about you, Stephanie. One is just your deep love of learning and desire to share and grow and help other people, and your work ethic. It's really extraordinary. Before we get going into your story, I know you love to start with an oil, and I was wondering, do you have one for transition?
Yes, I do. So I grabbed some rosemary, which is a wonderful oil actually for cooking. Don't use it. It's very powerful. But this is the oil of knowledge and transition. And it really helps with to assist you in the development of true knowledge and true intellect. And it teaches that you can be instructed from a far greater space of understanding than just the human mind. and it challenges you to look deeper than you normally would, and ask more soul searching questions.
Wow.
I will also tell you that rosemary is very powerful for the immune system. It's really good for your liver and your vital organs. So I always rub some on my belly first thing right in the morning. That's one of the protocols that I do.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to try that, but I put it in cheese.
Wow, it's got a lot of different uses.
You probably know that. I've made my little cheese dip with my rosemary, and I love it. Okay, well, thank you for that. I love the oils. As you know, you and I both use them from morning till night. So such a great thing to add to our wellness. So I would love it if you would just start with your journey, like go back in time and talk about the phases of reinvention that you've experienced, and take your time because you got a good story, a long story.
I have a long story.
Love it.
Okay, so as you mentioned, I have a professional dance background, which I still love to dance. And that really was my passion growing up as a kid, and even teaching dance in high school. Like I just loved doing that. And so I actually quit college and after 3 years and went to LA to pursue that career. And my family thought I was crazy, of course. And I ended up staying for 5 years and getting an agent and going to auditions and going down there at the time when the whole Marilyn Monroe blonde girl look was kind of going out. So it was a challenging time to kind of step into that, but I still did it. And I learned so much from that time, just really mostly from taking a risk and following my dream of, at such a young age. I was only 21 when I did that. That was a long time ago.
That was gutsy.
That was 30 years ago. So yeah, and that was probably the first time where I said, I am going to go for this because it's what I really want to do. And I'm passionate about dancing, and I wasn't going to let anything get in my way or tell me that I couldn't do it. And so I did that. And then through that journey of, auditioning and performing, and I really found the love of teaching. And I knew that I loved to teach anyway, because I had already done some of that before I even left. But I really found that that was more of my calling than being a performing dancer. So I came back to Utah and fell into a woman's studio that was retiring, and that happened just beautifully on purpose. And I only stayed for like 2 years because I ended up getting married and moving to Denver. And then from there, I really, I went and taught for a yoga studio or a dance studio there, and worked a lot with like competitive kids and competitive dance groups and things like that. And I also really got into the fitness industry then. And that's when I really started to explore yoga more. And mostly for my own practice for a while. I mean, of course I did yoga, as a dancer, not really knowing that it was yoga at the time. But, and then I actually started in hot yoga in Bikram way back. And then,
I didn't know that.
yeah, loved it. And so yeah, I did that for a while. And I don't know if you've heard of Yoga Fit. That was my first yoga certification. They actually brought yoga into the gym setting back when I was like 27.
I do remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think they're still going strong. I mean, they have some good certification programs now that are much more extensive than the one that I went to. It was more of I think it was 2 weekends or something. So I did a lot of those little trainings along the way. But what I really learned from yoga was that it was a really great thing for my dancing body that I had abused really for many years. And it really gave me the same kind of a feeling of passionately connecting to the fluid of movement. And so, it kind of started like that. But then when I moved out to Scottsdale, that was when was that? It was a while ago. It was like,
I know it was over 10 years ago, probably.
Yeah, it was like 17 years ago when I first came out there. And then that's when I did the first 200 hours. I did 200-hour teacher trainings there in Scottsdale. One was Ashtanga, and then the other one was on Asara. And I did some other stuff in between that. But those were the deep dives that I did that really showed me that I loved the deeper studies of yoga and the mythology and the stories and even the way of I really moved into the tantric teachings, which I love. And I'm very passionate about that. And then having a ball doing that. And then 2008 and 09 hit. And we lived in DC Ranch, North Scottsdale, which was a very new development. And I think that it was either the second or third hardest hit place in the US. So we had thought we were getting a great deal by getting a first short sale in DC Ranch. And then pretty soon, short sale, foreclosure, all around us, right? And the neighborhood we moved into was literally like $1 million neighborhood went down. It was cut in half. And then we had we had 3 houses at the time. So we had that house, and then we had a rental, and then we had a house in Utah too. And all of a sudden, my husband's income, he's also an entrepreneur. The funding that he was working on these projects all went away, and there was no money. And I was a yoga teacher, and I was like, what now? What am I going to do? Like all of a sudden my need, my why changed because I had 3 kids. And I still wanted to keep teaching. And it was very important for me to stay at home and raise them. So I kept meditating and praying about, what should I do? What can I do? Because I don't want to necessarily disrupt the schedule of my kids. I've got to bring more to the table than, yoga teachers don't get paid that much. If you didn't know that. And,
well, they get paid well by the hour, but they just can't work 40 hours a week. It's right. Too taxing, right?
Yeah. And so yeah, that was facing me. And so I was really looking at that, and doTERRA kept showing up for me, which was interesting because I'd go to Lisa Needham, who actually ended up enrolling me. I came up to her yoga studio in Park City. This is when doTERRA first started. And she had her diffuser going in the studio. And I thought, oh, it's so nice. And it's not overwhelming, and it smells so fresh. And what is this? And she'd give me all this literature, and I'd go home and I'd forget about it. This went on for 2 years, by the way. And then I started having panic attacks. And that was a big game changer for me because they put me on an antidepressant, which I started having suicidal thoughts when I started taking that drug. And that was the weirdest thing ever. I couldn't I'd never had that before. I had never experienced any type of mental, illness or even depression, and so I went off of it, and I found a guy that did applied kinesiology. And he's really good at working with supplements and also getting to the root cause of things. And he was able to learn that I had a GABA deficiency in my brain. And so the neurons weren't he said, they don't cross the threshold. And so it was creating this, you get overwhelmed easily. You can start having panic. And it's literally the first time it happened to me, I ended up in the emergency room because I had the same symptoms as a heart attack. It was very physiologically, it's very real. So I have a lot of compassion for people that have experienced that, and that it is an ongoing issue for them. This doctor also told me, he said the reason that I had experienced suicidal thoughts is because the serotonin was fine in my brain, and that drug that they gave me actually stimulated more of that, and it was too much, which I thought was very interesting. And then I was on, he put me on a natural regimen of a ton of supplements, which I did. And it took, 6 months or so. And then it was funny because Marty Harger was who was enrolled Lisa in doTERRA, happened to be in Phoenix. She says, I'm in town and I want to stop by and see you. And I'm Lisa's friend and I have these doTERRA essential oils. And I'm like, okay. Because it was at that time when I kept on asking, what can I do? I've got to figure something out. And this kept showing up and I kept ignoring it. It was literally knocking at my door. So then she showed up at the studio, literally when I was teaching. and showed me all this stuff. And I already knew I was going to sign up before she even came because I saw the signs enough. And so I did. And I started using, I remember I used Serenity, Balance, and Elevation on my feet morning and night. And because that was a protocol that had been suggested for, anxiety and panic. And it really helps me a lot. And I was also super impressed by the way that the oils worked on my kids so quick. And so I was sold, like literally, like within 2 weeks, I'm like, I'm doing this as a business. And it's all history since then. Like that was 8 years ago.
Well, what's so funny is you really didn't want to do it as a business. A lot of people who get into network marketing don't really want to do it as a business. But then in your case, you had a little bit of a crisis mixed with, an answer to your prayers,
Totally.
Yeah. And something that resonated with you because it's health oriented. And I love the way that you also sought out natural help for your GABA deficiency, even though you didn't know what it was, but you went to someone who, likes to get to the root of the problems instead of prescribing you more medication. So anyway, all that being said, you started a doTERRA business and you've built a worldwide organization. Yeah.
It's been an amazing journey. I've met so many great people. And the funny thing is the reason that I wouldn't join doTERRA, it's not because of the oils. I thought they were great. I told Lisa straight away, I'm like, I am not doing network marketing. I'm not doing it. I've done it before. All I do is spend money on product. That's all I end up doing. I've never made any money doing network marketing. But this was a different deal for me because I think I believed in it so much. It became easy to share. It wasn't so much about selling. It was more about sharing. And so that was really great. And doTERRA has been such an amazing company to work for and the things that they're doing around the world. And, it really is a company whose time has come, I will say. I've actually seen the best 2 months, the last 2 months that I've seen in a very long time. And it's because people that use these oils know what they do. And they're like, oh no, I need some of that for my immune system, right? I need some of that to help me with my, the mood and all the collective stuff that's happening. So that was one of the things. And then the interesting thing too, if you want me to continue, I started I made some bad choices in my marriage. And, there was just some things that went on unspoken about for too long and whatnot, and not dealt with and not handled. And, I was facing a divorce and I really got myself into some waters that I really didn't know how to navigate through. And so I actually reached out to Elena Brower. A lot of people probably know her. She's a pretty famous yoga teacher. And I've watched Elena and followed her for years in Anusara yoga. And then she was one of the first teachers to leave that organization and kind of go off on her own. And I still followed her. And then she joined doTERRA, and, she's a presidential diamond, or maybe, doing that too. So I had deep respect for her. And I watched her also on her journey and how she would speak about the Handle group and method and how much it helped her and how it changed her life. So, and she took my call and she got back to me and she gave me a couple of coaching sessions. Thank you, Elena. And really got to kind of the root of what was happening and said, you really need to get some coaching. You need, you need more coaching than this. And so, she turned me to the Handle method. And then I took a look at the homework and saw what it was going to take and what they were asking. And I put that off for a year too, because I wasn't ready. I was like, I don't think I can do this yet. This is a lot. This is really going to have me face all my shit, to be blatantly honest. And so after a year went by, I finally took the dive and I signed up with a coach. I had a coach for a year first. And now I've been in the coaching and I believed in it so much. It really helped me get resolved in my relationships and still with my family a lot, but really in my marriage, I had a very peaceful divorce. I spent $1,200 on a divorce. And it's because, me and Tom, we went through a Getting Resolved workshop that was quite expensive, but honestly, it was a lot less than going through a court system and totally worth it at the end of the day because we're amicable and we have a good relationship now. And so then I really believed in it, when I saw all of that. So I enrolled in the coaching training program 2 years ago. In July, it'll be 2 years. So I hope to finish that. And that is kind of the new path that I have evolved to. So that's kind of where I am now. And all good things, all good things. I mean, my biggest thing is to tell people to follow your heart, because the rest follows it. And it really does. And, people get tripped up on, well, how am I going to do it? Well, how am I going to make money doing that? Because, truth is, like, yoga teacher, dance, we don't get paid too much, but there's other things that fall into place if that's what you're seeking and that's really important to you. And I think that is what is really makes the difference, is to do what is important to you and what has value, and what the service that you can really share with others in that passion, right? Like, it's your dharma. So I always say, like, I'll always be a yoga teacher because it's my dharma. I showed up here to do that. And I do it because I love it. It's a labor of love. And that's the only reason I do it, really. I don't do it for financial reasons. I do other things for financial reasons, right? Because
Yes.
I do like money, and I'm not afraid to say that. And I like to do businesses. Like, I'm a Capricorn. So, yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm a Taurus and I'm entrepreneurial too, but I'm so, well, first of all, I like money too. And I think that there is a lot of education out there that needs to be had over money and what people think about it, their thoughts about it, their history with money and all of that. But let's talk about, I want to talk about being the yoga teacher and then getting into network marketing as one phase of your reinvention, because they're different skills.
Totally.
Right? Different skill set. So in my mind, and you can either verify this or not or add to it, but I think at some point you just have to decide. You just have to, make a decision to go a certain path, and then understand that there is a process to that path, right?
Totally.
So can you talk about that? Like, what did you learn about yourself as you transitioned, not from a yoga teacher, but adding network marketing into your life?
Well, first of all, I found that it was super easy to share the oils in yoga. I mean, that is how I built this business. No kidding. But the part that was hard for me is, like, I'll never forget Marty Harger showing me the commission plan, and then also, like, showing me how to do a PowerPoint presentation. And I'm like, wait, hold up. Is that a pirouette? Like, what? Yeah, that's the stuff that I hadn't done it. I wasn't good at it. I was way more, I've been in a studio my whole life and I loved being in a studio, and I love teaching from that perspective. And I was really overwhelmed in the beginning. I thought, I am never going to be able to do this. But I also had a big vision of what I wanted, that I held to that. And what I wanted, and is still important to me, was freedom. And, freedom of my schedule, being able to choose my own hours, and freedom of being able to make as much money as I wanted, and not having somebody say, oh, well, you can only make this much this year, right? Like, there's no cap on that. That's one of the beautiful things with network marketing. And especially doTERRA, like, sky's the limit. Like, you can, and then there's another piece that goes with that, because the effort has to match it, right? The time has to match it, the time and effort that you put into it. And one thing that I've done in this business is I've stayed consistent, and that has made the difference for me. And it really is the differentiating factor, I would say. And I would say that's probably true for any network marketer, that they would say the same thing, that there has to be a consistency, and there has to be a continual focus on what is the end game, even though you never really quite get to the end game, like, because you make a new end game, right? But there really always has to be the vision and the reaching to, and always staying in alignment with that, because of course we get frustrated. Of course people don't show up. Of course there's disappointments, and then we have to discipline all of that. And so those were all new skills that I had to learn, so yeah, I was able to learn them. And I think that one of the things, as people reinvent themselves, and especially even in this time, you have to believe in yourself, and you have to know it, that you can do it, and also see that you can do it, and not necessarily know all the steps, forget about the how. Forget about the how. The how takes care of itself. If you know what you want and why you want it, that's all you have to do. And you stay focused in that direction, and, keep coming back to it. And maybe even, I rewrite a vision statement every 3 or 4 months because it changes. And that's part of the reinvention process, right?
Yes. Yes.
So I don't know I think that
yes,
your question.
it definitely does. And I will say, I remember, I haven't been marketing the oils for a while, but I remember when I was, and you were consistently coming back to Phoenix to support your team, and you were consistently learning the new technology. And I know at the time you did not love technology. I remember that. You were like,
it's still my favorite
I
thing.
like teaching, but
I love to talk about the oils, like this kind of thing is like super fun for me.
Yeah, but you learned all of it. You learned all the PowerPoints. You learned all of it. And I was always really impressed by that. I always thought, wow, she's really focused, and it definitely showed, and it's definitely paid off for you. What advice do you have for women and any men who may be listening when their inner voice nudges them to change, whether it's a relationship or a career or just opening up to something new? Like what would you recommend they do when their inner voice is talking to them?
Well, and this is coming from the Handle methodology that I am now saturated in my own life and also teaching, is you really have to become aware of your inner dialogue. And you really have to be willing to look at the dark side of yourself, because that's the stuff that gets in the way. The negative stuff is what trips you up, right? Because the positive stuff works. And we want to enhance and work with that. Of course, we want to stay connected to that always, but we have to be willing to look at the shadow side. We have to be willing to, and there's a whole lot of that right now. Like even in the astrology, like we are being forced almost to look at our shadow sides and to really take a look at, what do I believe? What is important to me? What do I value? And then the dialogue that we have is very connected to beliefs that we were handed as a child, our lineage. Some of it wasn't, came from grandma and grandpa. Culturally, we inherited things. Even in the school that we grew up in, our town, all of these things contribute to our inner dialogue, right? And so, and some of it is good and some of it is not. So you really have to be willing to sift through those things. And we have so many thoughts a day, and it really is tricky to actually look at the ones that are super repetitive and negative, but they are on autopilot, and they are the ones that keep you stuck, right, per se, or not getting to where you want to go. Mm-hmm. And so to really take a look at that, and then I honestly, I couldn't have gotten through some of the stuff that I've gotten through in the last 5 years without a coach. I think everybody needs a coach right now, because a coach can help you see what you don't see. Even in the last couple months being in this method for 3 years, my coach is still pointing out stuff to me where I'm like, I didn't see that before. I didn't see that I do that. You're right. I do that, and it's something that it's so hard to see ourselves. And I will tell you another thing with the astrology right now, the projection is going to be at an all-time high. We're already seeing that. And so whenever you are projecting onto, and it's almost like people are walking around with mirrors, holding up mirrors to you.
You mean like looking for blame and just looking to
whatever it is. Yeah, like whatever your reaction is to them. Right? Because people are projecting what they believe onto you, and then you have a reaction to it. But it also points to what's in you. Because especially when we get triggered by somebody, that's pointing to something in us that they have just shown us. That's what I mean by the mirror, right? Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes.
I mean, look to your family because there's no better place to look.
That's true.
You want to get triggered? Look to your family because they're the best at triggering us.
They're usually the most honest. Telling you what you
don't try to pretend to be somebody else either. You know, when you're with the people that you love and you can let your guard down and everything, you're exactly who you are, right? And then all the negative stuff is there too. So, and the dark stuff, which is sometimes what needs to be looked at and even disciplined a little bit. And that takes practice with anything, like a good yoga practice. It's not something that happens overnight.
Couple things. So that reminds me that the practice of centering and the practice of yoga is so strengthening to the inner core of who you are and your mind. And so that discipline, I think, as I know a lot of yogis who are standing pretty strong right now, because they've been practicing for so many years, getting centered and being solid in who they are, and looking at their shadow sides and all kinds of stuff. And I wanted to say something about the inner dialogue, and I am not correcting you, so don't get this wrong. I kind of coin it as an inner monologue because I feel like there's one voice in there. And that voice is the one, like you said, you're conditioned over and over to hearing. And then my goal is to actually bring the dialogue in so that you have a voice to that monologue, so that you can change that monologue to an actual dialogue where you have a say in the conversation within your own mind. So just just something that I've been kind of playing with. And but like your point is so well taken that we have to manage our minds. We have to work on that. And I think coaching is a great way to do that. So with that, tell us about where people can find you, Stephanie. What are all your services? What do you offer to the world? I know we've talked about a lot of it, but where can they find you? What can you help them with? And give them all the things.
Okay, so I do a lot of stuff. You can go to soulyogi.com, SOULYOGI.com. And you'll see all my offerings there. You can also sign up for my newsletter. I send out an oil tip every week. I send out motivation with the oil tip. I send out I'm now teaching my weekly yoga classes online, as well as in the studio here, as they've lightened up a little bit on and starting to let us go back to that. So I'm doing that. So you can see my class schedule. I also have a retreat coming up in Sedona in the fall. I had to reschedule that. I'm also doing live on Fridays, which is kind of like this, Lisa, that you can also, all of that is on the website. Inner You is with my coaching program that's also offering 50% off of a lifetime membership right now with that program. That's also on my website, and the promo code there for me as well, or for you. And soulyogi.com. And that would probably be the best way to contact me and also see my offerings.
And you didn't mention the essential oils, but you do have, like, people can get doTERRA through you on your website, right?
Yeah, there's a doTERRA link there as well. And all of my stuff includes essential oils.
Yes.
Except for the coaching. I mean, I really do use the oils in all of the things that I do. And, for me, it's a lifestyle. And even in my yoga classes, I tell people now, it's like, you're really being challenged right now. All this practice that you've done, all of the yoga that you've practiced over the years, this is the real yoga now. Like, off your mat, like, practice what you know, because, it's all being asked to be put into a daily practice off of your mat. And I'm really encouraging people to come to neutral ground and not get into these extreme positions. That's what is scaring me the most, I think, in this time. It's not COVID-19. It is going to be the extreme beliefs around things. And I think that, as you talk about people being centered, so important right now. Like, I've upped my meditation to morning and night. Myself, and I'm asking my students to do that. I'm asking everybody, go to higher frequency. When a plane is bumpy in the air, the pilot goes higher. So that's what
Love
we
that
need.
metaphor. I love that. That's so great. I heard that on your show the other day.
Yeah. And I, of course, got it from somebody else.
All right. That's what we do. We just hear
Yeah.
something, we share it, we go about. I heard somebody say that sometimes, like when someone has an insight and they see it right away, like the first thing they want to do is share it. It's like, oh my God, that makes so much sense. Oh my God, that helps me. I got to tell somebody about it, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, go to higher ground, folks. Stephanie, thank you so much for being my guest today. I so appreciate it. I love you. I have so much respect for you. And
I love you too. Yeah.
And I just wish you continued success. And I know you already are an amazing coach. You're just going to be getting better. So have fun with that.
Yeah,
and
you too. Like you're doing all kinds of fun stuff too. And I've always said, Lisa is so good at marketing. Like I need to call her about I need some help with that. So yeah.
Well, anytime, let me know. I wouldn't say I'm a guru in that area at all, but I know some things. So I would love to share that.
I think you're pretty good. I think you should give yourself credit for that. Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Well, we're going to wrap it up. But folks, again, if you are in the space for reinvention, if you need a coach, everybody needs a coach. I mean, Stephanie said it right here. Everybody could use a coach. Let's just put it that way. And I'm here for you, reinventionlifecoach.com or lisanellercoaching.com. And you can also find me on Facebook /Lisa Neller Coaching. That's where I'm broadcasting right here, right now. And thanks for joining us. And you guys have a wonderful evening. Thanks, Steph.
Thanks, Lise. See ya.
You bet. See you soon.